Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today marks the start of a brand new series called Creator Spotlight, where I'm going to be talking about different creators in the comic industry and their life and their career and just a general overview of their accomplishments. We're starting off with a very big name in comics right now, Donny Cates. Let's get this started right off the bat with Donny Cates' early life. So Donny Cates was born in Texas the 14th of September in 1984. Today he's one of the biggest, if not the biggest name in the comics industry, and he's writing a lot of different titles. When he was 3 years old, he began reading comics and became immersed in all these different worlds that comics have created over the years. Venom was originally one of his very favorite characters. He believed that comics are one of the greatest mediums to really express yourself. Later in life, he went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, where he studied sequential art, which is basically just comics making, but he ended up dropping out before he could get his degree. From his experiences at college, he learned that collaboration between the writer and artist and good communication is very important to making a great comic. So over his almost 8-year stint of writing comics so far, Cates has tried his best to work with artists who are friends of his, who he has a history of working with. Finally, Donny Cates' dream of writing comics came true in 2013 when he was hired by Dark Horse Comics to script a short story for an anthology series that they were putting out called Dark Horse Presents. And after the success of that issue, Dark Horse wanted to try out Donny Cates, and they entrusted him with a 4-issue miniseries called Buzzkill. That was co-written by Mark Resnicek, and art was by Jeff Shaw, which was the first time of, I think 5 or 6, many times, that Donny Cates would go on to work with Jeff Shaw later on in his career. Buzzkill centered around an alcoholic who is trying to get sober, but when he drinks alcohol, he's imbued with magical powers, so that makes it a lot harder for him to become sober than other people. This series and many other series, mostly for independent publishers that he's written, have been centered around his personal life, and that's another thing that he's stated is very important to a great comic. For his next series, Donny Cates moved over to Image Comics. He wrote what was supposed to be a 12-issue series called Ghost Fleet, with art by Daniel Warren Johnson. But after the disappointing sales of the first issue, Image had to drop it down to 8 issues. Even issues 5 through 8 of that series had to be released only digitally on the Image Comics website. That series centered around a real conspiracy theory about these mysterious cargo trains that people have seen driving around the US, and some people believe that that's the government's way of transporting top secret things from place to place. Then between 2016 and 2017, Donny Cates would go on to simultaneously work for 3 different companies. He had another job with Dark Horse, he continued working with Image, and even did some work for IDW Publishing. To mark his return to Dark Horse, Cates wrote a superhero team miniseries called The Paybacks, and he worked with Jeff Shaw again on this series. One of the characters on that team was Soviet Nunchuck, this strange character that Donny Cates came up with in a dream that he had, and it was really the only place that he would ever be able to put that strange character into a comic. This series really didn't do well either, which wasn't good for Donny Cates' reputation. In 2016, Donny Cates was entrusted at IDW to write a short Star Trek miniseries called Star Trek Deviants with artist Josh Hood. This short story was set in an alternate universe where Earth was colonized after they made contact with the Romulans, and the only hope is a rebellion, a small rebellion of humans, led by William Riker, who's the second in command in the Star Trek The Next Generation TV show. But the comic that he put out in 2017 at Image Comics was what got him his very first success and really got him recognition. It was called God Country, and he worked once again with Jeff Shaw. That's definitely a pattern that you'll be seeing throughout the rest of his career in this video. This was just a short mini run of 6 issues that centered around an old man with a bad case of Alzheimer's who was struggling to recognize his family, and they were going through a tough time. But he finds this talking sword called Valifax. And whenever he's holding Valifax, his Alzheimer's is gone and he can see his family again. A lot of critics and big names in the comics industry praised, and it was really his taking off point that got him recognition for the first time. Immediately after the success of God Country, Marvel reached out to Donny Cates to ask if he wanted to work for them. Of course he accepted, and now that he was working for one of the big two, there was no higher level of comics writing. Cates would go on to work exclusively for Marvel Comics for the next 3 years, except for a couple of miniseries that he did for Valiant Comics, which is a smaller publisher. So just in case things didn't turn out too well, Marvel started out by giving Donny Cates a small mini-story that was part of an anthology going on during the Secret Wars event called Battle World. He then went on to co-write Captain America alongside Nick Spencer for a while, but Cates' very first time writing an ongoing Marvel series came in August of 2017 when they gave him 2 different ongoing series to write all by himself. Those series were Thanos and Doctor Strange. His Doctor Strange run lasted from issues 381 to 390, so a fairly short, just 10-issue run, but during those issues, he did some crazy stuff. He co-wrote a mini-event called Doctor Strange Damnation, featuring Mephisto as the villain, which he worked again with Nick Spencer on, and he even made Loki Sorcerer Supreme in his very first story arc. But Cates' run on Thanos was what really blew up. He was taking over after Jeff Lemire's 12-issue run on Thanos, so he wrote issues 13 through 18 and wrapped up the series. Again, he worked with Jeff Shaw on this. In this 6-issue run, he introduced the character Cosmic Ghost Rider, who he would then go on to write a miniseries with art by Dylan Burnett. Some issues of his Thanos run received up to 5 different printings, which is absolutely unheard of in the comics industry. Once he had finished up both his Thanos and Doctor Strange runs, which were both pretty short, he had definitely passed Marvel's test and they were ready to give him some more work. So they presented him with the question, what character that's available at Marvel right now would you like to write? And Venom, as I said earlier in the video, is one of his favorite Marvel characters, and that was one of the 2 characters that he most wanted to write at Marvel, both of which he's written at this point. Venom is no doubt Donny Cates' most well-known work. His run started in May of 2018 and is going to end in April of 2020, just this year, the longest run of Venom under one creator ever. On this book he read Ryan Stegman, and on their very first phone call, when they were talking about what they're gonna do in their Venom run, they instantly became friends and still are to this day, which definitely helped Donny Cates' beliefs of working with people you're well acquainted with. Through their almost 4-year run, they've introduced Null, the God of the Symbiotes. Their series has even stretched out into 2 major Marvel events, Absolute Carnage, which happened last year, and King in Black, which is happening right this moment. He also had a short 12-issue run of Guardians of the Galaxy during his Venom run. I think that ran from the beginning of 2019 to the end of 2019. In that run, he almost resurrected Thanos and almost killed off Rocket Raccoon, but by the end of that series, things were basically back to how they were at the beginning. Now in January of 2020, Donny Cates got the chance to write his other dream character, Thor. Jason Aaron had just wrapped up his 7-year-long run of Thor, so it was really something to follow up, but people knew that Donny Cates had it in the bag. He'd been introducing some crazy ideas in his Venom run, and people knew that he would be the perfect writer for Thor. Thor is only about 12 issues deep right now, but in his run so far, he's introduced the Black Winter, given Thor the power cosmic, and killed off Galactus. He's even stated that there's a lot more coming on Thor down the line. He doesn't plan to end it anytime soon. In very late 2020, Donny Cates made his inevitable return to Image Comics. Cates has done his very best to introduce new concepts and ideas to Marvel Comics, like Null and the Black Winter. He's changed things up quite a bit, a lot more than most writers are able to at Marvel, because there's just so much lore and history that most things at Marvel are unchangeable, and there's only so much you can do. But Image Comics is a very different setting. Image Comics started in the early 1990s, and it was founded on the idea of creator rights. All creators at Image Comics completely own the rights to their characters that they publish under Image. At Image, each new series is a completely new and separate universe, so creators have pretty much complete creative freedom, as long as it's passed by the editors, to do whatever they want, which is much different from Marvel and DC. So crossover number 1 marked Donny Cates' return to Image Comics. This series, as of now, only has 4 issues so far, but Crossover is set in a universe where all the fictional comic characters from all the different companies came into the real world and started causing a lot of death and destruction. And some of those superheroes decided to team up to contain all of the superheroes so that all the chaos could be contained inside that dome. Now I've caught you up on pretty much everything that Donny Cates has done in his career so far. There are a few like mini-series and one-shots that I didn't include, just because there's too many things. This video would go on forever if I included everything. But now we have to ask the question, what's next? Let's start out with Marvel. So as I said, Donny Cates is still writing the ongoing Thor series, and he's got a lot of plans for that, so that'll probably go at least for a few more years. There's also a strong possibility of another series that's unannounced coming out from Donny Cates at Marvel to replace his Venom run when it ends in April. But that might not happen, and I'll tell you why. At Image, Cates has announced that he's going to be making a series with Dylan Burnett. He also announced that he's going to be doing a series called Flood with his wife Megan Hutchinson, who also works in the comics industry. So it could be possible that Donny Cates is taking a bit of a break from Marvel and only writing Thor for a while. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman also announced on their podcast, Stegman and His Amazing Friends, that they have more in the works after their Venom run is over. This could be for Marvel, this could be for Image or some other independent company. We don't have details on that quite yet. So there's the very first episode of Creator Spotlight. I hope you liked this video. I'm gonna try my best to make this a regular series. I've got all of my sources listed down in the description below, and I've also got the Google Doc that I've got all my notes on. Before you go, make sure to subscribe. It's the big red button right below this video, and you can also turn on the notifications bell and you'll be notified every single time I post a new video if you don't want to miss any. So that's everything from me. I'll sign off for now. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye guys.